Well, thanks so much for still staying with us. Now, the latest update from the Zambezi River Authority does show that the levels in the Kariba Dam are gradually rising, driven by increased rainfall around the lake. Now, this upward trend is expected to continue as we move to the first quarter of 2025. Now, for many Zambians, this development brings hope, as higher water levels could lead to improved electricity supply and a possible reduction in the prolonged hours of load shedding that the people have been enduring the past 8 months. Meanwhile, on the petroleum front, the country has been grappling with disruptions in the supply of fuel over the past few weeks, slowing down productivity across various sectors. The government has repeatedly assured the public that measures have been taken to address the ongoing energy crisis, but are these efforts enough? These are the questions that we have for the Minister responsible for energy, Honorable Makozo Chikote. Honorable Minister, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on Diamond Live tonight.
Good evening and good evening, viewers.
Every time there rains, the people are excited because then the actual translation, according to people, is that at least now we'll be having, an increase in electricity supply. I would like to find out from you, Minister. Obviously, the past few weeks, the country has experienced what experts would call normal to above normal rainfall. And whether this then will translate into reduced load shedding. Let's begin from there.
Thank you very much, Mansa. And thank you very much to all viewers. Indeed, this country has gone through a very difficult time where power is concerned. Arising from the drought that we faced as a country, our economic growth has been seriously hit because, as you may be aware, that Zambia depends on the hydro generation power, and because of the drought that we went through, all our reservoirs which generates power were seriously affected. And of course, we are very aware as a government that people have faced setbacks in terms of economic activities. And the beginning of 2025, we are blessed that the country, first we were in a panic mode. October, November, and part of December, we were in a panic mode. I'm sure you agree with me that the head of state and some of us, and those who believe in God, we even decided to go for prayers because we were really very, very worried that if the 2 seasons will be completely of drought, then it will be a disaster for our country. And towards the end of December and January, we have seen some improvement in terms of rains. And this has given hope to people. Like you have said, in the past 2-3 weeks, as a country, we have experienced some good rainfall pattern in the country. And of course, generally, this has excited people. And people believe that from what we are receiving, we expect change in terms of load management. But what I want to state is that we are from a damage, a serious damage, not a small damage. So these rainfall we are receiving, yes, they are giving us hope, they are giving us confidence as we are trying to mend our reservoirs because the damage was too big. And with this pattern of rainfall, if it continues, for example, February, March, then we are likely to see change in terms of the load management. So that is the confidence we must have, all of us. Our prayer is that this rainfall will continue in the same fashion they are raining. And more particularly, that the catchment area that contribute, that has an impact on the power generation plants that are dotted in our areas, mainly in the southern province. should continue having some good rain.
If expectations come to light, indeed, that by March we're still going to have this good rainfall, what kind of change do we, expect to see? Is it significant change, or perhaps what change? When you say you expect change, put things into context.
Yeah. Currently, we are observing the water levels in our storage facilities or reservoirs. So we are keeping monitoring. Slowly, there's a rise. But that does not translate that we are okay. We are still hoping for more. Like I've said, that the damage was too big. So why I've said that if this rainfall continues in the fashion they are raining, then we are expecting a big change in terms of power supply. Because you see, we are running, 3-4 hours of power. Then we must expect, when the levels increases in our reservoirs, I'll cite one example of Itej. Itej Dam, the installed capacity is 120 megawatts. Currently, we are still struggling with 25 megawatts. Instead of producing the 120, we are producing 25 megawatts. So our hope that when the levels increases, I've been listening very much to our people. They always just talk about Kariba. Power generation, we have got Itej. Itej is one of the...
To what extent will the power disruptions, the load management improve when by March we still have good rains?
Yes.
Are we going to... What is your projections? People are experiencing 17 hours of load shedding. What is your projection, Minister?
So, our projection is that if the rain pattern continues in the same way, we expect ourselves to move from 3 hours, and we are talking of 7 hours. Those are the targets that are being put in place, and hopefully, we'll move to 12 hours of power. But that does not translate only in hydro generation power. We are talking of other sources of power, such as, the renewable energy, such as the coal power generation. So these will help us to move from these hours that we are benefiting to better hours, which have said that we are targeting moving from 3 hours to 7 hours.
There's a very critical thing that you keep saying, and you talk about this 3 hours moving to 7 hours, but the citizens are paying an extra tariff, which has just also been extended by the Energy Regulation Board, that warrants citizens having at least 7 hours of electricity per day. That's why the tariff of electricity was increased. Why is government failing to implement this and robbing citizens? Because if people are paying for 7 hours for units in the equivalent of 7 hours per day, and they're not getting it, then there's no justification for why government increased these tariffs.
Look, first of all, we must understand how do we manage our power. Our power generation, for some time, it has not been cost reflective. And also, we must understand that sustainability is the way to go. For example, if I give you the situation of ZESCO, this is an utility that we found struggling in terms of debts, struggling in the way of managing their services because of, working or trying to, to put ourselves not to run activities in a cost-reflective manner. And that is one of the reasons why the tariffs were reviewed.
But that's not true, Minister. The justification by you as government was that you're increasing these tariffs so that it could enable ZESCO import electricity and match up to 7 hours of electricity per day. Not that it should become cost reflective, but
because you see,
and that's why the tariff is temporary. It is a temporary tariff and not a permanent one, because It is there to facilitate for 7 hours of electricity per day.
Look, this is what I'm saying. You cannot import power when you don't have resources.
So
that's one thing. Because that's why I'm saying we must run that utility in cost-reflective manner. Very, very important. Because you see, people are asking, why is government not importing power? First of all, we need to have resources to import power for the country.
I agree with
and
you, but
to continue providing this service, ZESCO must have a sound resources to manage.
I agree with
the
you,
utility.
Minister, but I think you're gaslighting the citizens. It's you as government who told them that if there is an increase in this tariff, this is going to enable ZESCO import electricity that will match up to 7 hours per day. So ZESCO needs cost-reflective tariffs.
Yes.
But this emergency increase in tariffs,
yes,
you as government justified was going to enable ZESCO import electricity.
Yes, we were helping the utility.
So what has changed now?
Definitely, first of all, like I stated, ZESCO was struggling in terms of resources. Completely it was struggling. By reviewing these tariffs, that's why we quickly looked at how do we classify these tariffs. That's why you find that in the same vein, the vulnerable citizens were considered, those who are consuming lower than 200 kilowatts. Those were considered not to be affected.
Minister, why did government increase the tariffs? What did you say is the reason why government increased the tariffs?
The reason, first of all, I've told you, we need to manage our utility.
But that's not
which
what
is
you
a
said.
provide.
That's not what you said when you were increasing the tariff.
Listen, we need to manage our utility. In the same vein, when I'm talking about management, we are talking on how we are supposed to provide this service to the people.
Is this what you said when you were increasing the tariff?
Of course, that's what we said. We needed to provide. We were in a crisis. First of all, you must understand that we were in a crisis. People were facing serious load shedding. How do we mitigate? Is to make sure that ZESCO have got resources to import power in order to provide this service to the people.
And have you been providing the service?
Of course.
I think the question John is asking is that you told us, yes, the power situation was very bad. So we need to import electricity. But before we do that, we need to increase tariffs. So you increase the tariffs. So now Jonah is asking, why aren't you providing the number of hours that you had proposed that you're going to provide when now people are buying expensive power?
Look, you were going 3-4 days without power. Before we made all this adjustment, it was terrible. The situation was very bad. And we said, one reason why we are putting these cost-reflective tariffs is to make sure that we are able to provide this service.
No, Minister, that's not what you said. That's not what you said, Minister. You said you want to increase this tariff so that you can give people 7 hours of at least 7 hours of electricity per day. That's what you said. Those are the words you said. Unless you're changing the status of this situation now. But that's not what you said when the tariff was being increased.
Look, colleagues, you must understand. First of all, I want to take you back. Before we did this tariff adjustment, how many days were you going without power?
That's not the point.
No, just a minute. How many days were you going? You were going 3-4 days without power. Now, as we sat down, how do we manage? What makes our utility company to fail to import this power? We said we have to adjust these tariffs, more especially the commercial. That's where, yes.
So why didn't you say that then? Why did you have to say that you will give people 7 hours? Unless you're suggesting that you didn't say that.
No.
That you would give 7 hours of electricity per day.
No, we said.
Did you not say this?
No. We never just jumped to 7 hours.
Did government not?
I remember when I was here before, I never said 7 hours.
That was before the increase.
There was systematic way of the way I was putting this information. From 4 days of lack of power, I said we are now going to move to 3 hours. Then I said, as we unfold these opportunities, as we found this power in the market, we'll continue increasing. From 3, we'll move to 7. From 7, we'll move to 12 hours, even on the floor of the house. That's what I said.
But ERB said that they are approving this tariff by ZESCO so that ZESCO can supply 7 hours of electricity per day. Unless you're not aware of this, Minister.
Look, this is what I'm saying. Because ERB is under the motherboard of Ministry of Energy. That's why I'm saying that, you see, when we are talking of imports, we are talking of resources.
Are you aware that ERB made this 7-hour commitment per day?
Well, that's what I'm getting from you. Because what I know from what we have been exchanging, we had a systematic way of explaining things. We never jumped from 4 days load shedding, then they said we are jumping into 7 hours. No, I still remember very well, even when I was here, I said we have moved to 3 consistent supply of power. And we are moving to 7 hours, and we will continue move until we reach 12 hours.
Isn't this chaotic, Minister, that ERB makes a commitment of 7 hours per day and you're not even aware? And citizens are expecting that your ministry is going to manage this energy situation.
We are moving. That's what I'm saying, that we are moving towards that. Even when I was explaining about the water levels, that's why I have mentioned that we are not only focusing at, where the rain-fed situation. I've mentioned of the renewable energy. I've mentioned of the core. Because when we put all this together, we will have an improvement in terms of power supply to the people. So it's a combination. It's not just about water situation or water levels in our reservoirs. There are so many measures that we have put in place to make sure that we respond to the deficit the country is facing in terms of power supply.
Minister, we'll be picking phone calls on tonight's edition of Diamond Live to just get a feel of what people feel. I'd like to find out from you, Minister, how much power are we exporting outside?
We currently, first I would start by explaining to you that, first of all, we have to talk how much power we are importing. Currently, we are importing about 550 megawatts from the southern pool market. And this is via South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Namibia. As I'm talking to you, we are exporting 80 megawatts to Namibia.
From the 500 pool?
No. That is what we are importing. From what we have as a country, because we didn't completely go to zero.
Is Namibia the only country that we're exporting to?
Yes. We are exporting to Namibia.
Only country.
What is our current power deficit?
It's about 1,600 megawatts. Because the country's demand is 2,800 megawatts. So currently we are generating, we are getting 1,200, inclusive the imports. With what we are producing and the imports, we have 1,200 megawatts.
Is there any, would it be a bad thing to stop exporting this 80 megawatts? I know that the country must have bilateral relations with other countries, but would this in any way mean anything? Help the ordinary Zambian explain why we should be exporting power when we are, as a country, struggling.
It would be seriously a bad thing as a country. Because, first of all, like you have just stated correctly, there are bilateral agreements which no country can run away from that. That's the more reason why we are able to use these lines. We are importing power using the same lines. We need to keep them live. Secondly, ZESCO, to manage to get bank facilities, they must provide resources. They must be bankable. So the only confidence why we are keeping such kind of agreements existing is to give confidence to the banks. ZESCO is still servicing loans. And the only way they raise their revenue is by exporting, because we export at a high tariff.
So that's the reason then. So ZESCO is exporting electricity because it's more lucrative than supplying the Zambian market.
Not only that, we have said there are bilateral agreements that you cannot just wake up in a day and cut them.
But it's not been a day, Minister. It's been almost 12 months. I think if the will is there to readjust these deals in 12 months...
Are you aware that we when we were okay, we were exporting 120? Adjustments were made. We had to engage our colleagues and explain the situation we are facing as a country. This is having heart of our people. That's a priority that we gave. We had to adjust from 120 megawatts, which we were exporting to Namibia, to drop it to 80, so that we maintain the relationship. Because tomorrow, when we bounce back with extra supply, where are you going to take that power?
I remember last year, Minister, you came boasting from China with President Hakainde Hichilema because you signed an MOU with Power China to boost electricity generation. You no longer speak about the MOUs you signed. You've gone quiet, Minister.
Indeed, maybe because I would agree with you that maybe I've taken time with the update to the nation. If you remember my last presser last year, the whole lot of this, the first month of 2025, I've never updated the nation. The truth is, there's work in progress.
How far will we?
We are going, China at the time, we are going to commission 126 megawatts this year. So there's work in progress. There are a number of companies that work is being done. But we have, of course, like you have said, we have not updated the nation. It doesn't mean that the MOU that we have signed with China, they are dead. They are not dead, they are alive. Very soon you see me commissioning, you see me other, solar plants that we are going to commission in April, in May. So this will add up to our power deficit.
Before Jonah comes in with the petroleum side of energy, what is the outlook for our country in terms of electricity, particularly, this year?
Well, I'll start first, like I've said, that you see 85% of this of our power generation is hydro. That's why you heard me in my preamble say, if this rain patterns continue, we are likely to see some change. But I'm not saying it will be completely 100% to its full capacity, because we have these plants. The installed capacity for Iteji is 120. We are still at 25. So we are hoping that we'll move. But generally, we are projecting that we may move from 1,200, we are likely to move to 1,447 megawatts if this rain pattern continues.
That is in 2020. That's in 2025.
This year, we are likely to move to that. And of course, this is nature I'm talking about. We expect to update and to keep on reviewing and monitoring the rain pattern, especially in the catchment area.
Let's get to look.
Other than 1,447 megawatts that I've talked about, we are also focusing on other sources of energy, such as solar, such as coal, and we expect that it will be a supplement to whatever we are going to get from
Minister,
the rain.
I think the biggest question also from the Zambians out there is, why have you failed to give people a concise load management schedule? Is this a big problem from your end?
Well, that is how this minister wishes things to be. I'm sure even when you follow me, when I've been interacting with the stakeholders, I've been giving them confidence, and I'll still give them confidence that our target is to make sure that we give consistent schedules of this lodge management.
But you're aware that these schedules have not been consistent.
But we have tried. If you check the way they started...
Are you agreeing that these schedules have not been consistent?
Yeah, in some areas...
Have you apologized to the Zambians that you failed them in this area?
We have responded positively. We have responded positively to our citizens. Of course, I'm aware there are certain areas sometimes I get the feedback. No, here things are not okay. But definitely we coordinate and collaborate with the utility to make sure that we respond to our citizens so that they are able to...
I've got questions for you,
to
understand. Minister. Malon is calling us from Mpika. Malon, thank you so much for joining us. Go ahead with your question.
Hello.
Go ahead, Malon. Go ahead with your question. Good evening.
Yes, sir. I'm watching the program very closely, and I'm very worried the way our minister is coming out. He is not coming truthful in what he's saying. Mr. Jonah asked him some questions. He is not coming the way. I'm not seeing any truthfulness in what he's saying. Help us so that he can say something which is truthful, which will give us hope as citizens in terms of load shedding. Because I'm not hearing any truthfulness in what he's saying.
So Zimbabwe, before you go, I think it's going to be better if you ask him a question so that he can answer it. I think we've lost Marlon there. He says that you're not being truthful, Minister.
Well, that's how he thinks. Sometimes we don't get offended when citizens are trying to express their concern. Because the whole point here is about, are we ending load shedding? Because all that, talking is coming out of the load shedding. But the truth is what I'm saying here. The truth is what I'm giving the nation. This government has put in place measures to mitigate the power deficit in the country. And I have stated that we have got, measures that are in the short term. We have got measures that are in the medium. We have got measures that are in the longer term. What truth does he want?
I guess maybe he's talking about the contradiction in terms of the hours of load shedding and the importation of electricity. But let me move on to something else, still on the side of electricity.
Yes.
Just a few days ago, you and the President traveled to Tanzania as a part of a World Bank and Africa Development Bank initiative to supply electricity to over 300 million people in Africa by 2030. What is Zambia's benefit from all of this, and when are we likely to see an actualization of this? Because 2030 is only 5 years from now.
Correct. Actually, the Energy Summit that took place in Dar es Salaam, it was a platform where heads of state or governments and private sector were exchanging ideas on how to move Africa to universal access of electricity. That was the platform there. And in that summit, we have learned different ideas from different countries. And each country was able to present their compact energy to the people, to the delegates that were there. So that summit was very important because we are able to tabulate, because the summit provided a roadmap on how we are going to work with the private sector, on how private sector is going to be helped to mobilize resources in order to invest in the power generation, transmission, regional integration. All these will help us to respond to the universal access by 2030 for at least 300 million people in Africa. Now, as a country, we stand at a national level. We are saying Zambia is at 53%. So our target is to move those percentage from where we are, which is 53, to closer to 100% for universal access of these facilities. Also, we're trying to look at also clean cooking. We need to provide, as a country, in terms of clean cooking, we are just around 9%. So these are percentages which we feel as a country, coming from that summit, we need to raise them to 40%. So this is what comes out of that summit. That summit has provided a platform also to give or to provide opportunities to the private sector, to cooperating partners who can support our reforms to drive the universal access to electricity.
So there's a 300 million target for the entire Africa. How many of these 300 million are we contributing as Zambia to arrive at this figure?
As we are targeting about 3.2
million. Let's talk about the other aspect of Zambia's energy sector, and that's the petroleum products. We have had a pretty rough patch with the energy situation in the country, both from electricity but also petroleum products, that we have also reached a point where some of these petroleum products are not available at some filling stations in the country. Would you give a status update of what the fuel situation is like today?
First of all, I want to say that yes, in the past weeks, as a country, we have faced a number of our filling stations, some of our filling stations running dry. Sometimes you find a filling station has got diesel but no petrol. That situation, we have had it for some time, and this is arising from few logistic factors. The first one is people have to understand that as a country, we had about 3 sources of bringing in our product. The first one is we normally use the pipeline for diesel because our pipeline only transport diesel. Then petrol, we have been using by road. We have been bringing this product by road. And this is from Dar es Salaam port. And also, we have been bringing our products by the Beira route, which when our truckers or our tank drivers passes through Zim. And that business was, I would say 100% it was being run by the Zimbabwean trucks. But in the process, Zimbabwe government decided to put a tax for people transporting this product. And it did not sit very well with the OMCs. A lot of them pulled out. And about 3,500 trucks pulled out from bringing this petroleum product. That also affected us seriously as a country. Also, you remember that our dear colleagues, the Mozambican, had some, political, differences, and there were some violence there. Things were not moving in the right direction. So that also disturbed the flow of movement, and hence affected the availability of the product to our people in this country. But what is that we have done to respond to these challenges? First of all, as we are talking now, there are bilateral discussions with our colleagues. We have engaged Zimbabwean government to understand and make it flexible for Zambian government to allow our trucks to be exempted to such kind of tax. Discussions are on, and hopefully we are going to conclude this matter, which will change the dynamics in terms of the products that we are bringing by road. And also, in terms of diesel, this government has not just sit down like that. We also looked at our pipeline, that how do we enhance or increase the pumping rate, which today I'm proudly to mention that we managed to put a DRA agent which facilitate the movement of this product, which has moved from 2.8 million liters to 3.6 million liters. And as a country, our daily consumption is about 4.2. So as we are putting this, these measures, we are likely to see the pipeline providing about 4 million liters, which will make this product more available. But as we are standing now, the stocks for a day, it stands at 17.
Minister, you are highlighting some of the things that you have been doing, but the transportation of these petroleum products would have had much ease if you continued transporting commingled crude through Tazama. Are you conceding now as government that the decision you made with Ndeni, the decision you made with Tazama and the commingled crude was an error in judgment, and that had that decision not been made, we wouldn't have been here where we are today?
No. The answer is no. What we decided gives our people comfort in terms of affordability.
Really? Affordability? When as we speak today, petroleum products are at their highest in the history of this country. Like today, since you increased a couple of days ago.
I would tell you that had it not been for these measures we have put in place, this country would have gone more than to what you are talking about.
There's no way to find out, so we can only talk about what has happened.
So this is what I'm saying, because
you see,
highest. We don't wait unless people see it. There is the mandate of the government is to make sure that it's protecting its citizens.
But what
we are saying that the introduction of bringing finished product by the pipeline, one, it makes it easier to transport this product, and the end user, who is a consumer, get it at an affordable price.
What do you quantify as an affordable price? The highest price ever? That is what an affordable price is?
So would you believe me that in the region, as a country, are we the highest?
No,
I'm just want to give you that foundation so that you understand what I'm saying. Because I was explaining that these measures which we introduced, one has helped this country not to incur unnecessary debts. You see, government decided to disengage itself from procuring this product. You know what it means. You know what it left behind. The debt which was there. So we thought
Minister,
it.
If you're going to speak confidently tonight and address the Zambian people, and you're telling them that the fuel could have been way expensive if, for example, if the PF won the elections, because I think that's what you're trying to insinuate. When under the Patriotic Front Minister, fuel was around 16 to 17 kwacha, and you told the people, President Hakainde, that this fuel is very expensive, and the PF are still in 3 kwacha, and that there are middlemen that are in the procurement of this fuel, and that's why it's expensive. And when you come into power,
yes,
you're going to reduce it by 3 kwacha. That takes it to about 15 or 14 kwacha.
Exactly what you are saying. First of all, as I'm talking to you, there are no middlemen. We have managed, because of what we have introduced, private OMCs buy the product, they sell it, no middlemen.
Except it's at 34.
Just a minute. No middlemen. You have said by the time PF was in power, the product was selling at 17.
With middlemen at 17 kwacha. You without middlemen at 34 kwacha.
Now, what was the cost at international market by that time?
The cost for who?
You know, we import these products from refinery. What was the cost?
The cost for who?
For this product, because we don't make this product here. We import this product. It's more or less like I'm going to a wholesale to buy a product. Then if at that time I'm buying that product from the wholesale, let me pick sugar. I go and buy from the sugar company a case of sugar at 10 ingwe.
So what was the cost, Minister?
No, I mean, Minister, you make it seem like it's a scandal for a government to look out for its people and protect them from an unreasonable shock. You make it seem like it's a scandal to say we should protect our citizens from exorbitant petroleum prices. It is not a scandal.
There are factors that we can manage as government. There are factors that we can't control. That you must distinguish. I was giving you an example. When our colleagues were in power, did you have the Ukraine war?
It started in 2022, the second version of it anyway.
You understand? That's where a problem started of the product. That is a fact.
What about
there was no war.
What about the subsidies that you removed on fuel?
How do you subsidize something and create a debt? Is that a genuine subsidy?
No, you could have created the subsidy.
You can't subsidize,
you could have
and
created
you are
creating for it.
You are creating a debt. It had to take us to clear this debt.
So let's
which to the eyes of the citizens, they were saying no, the government is subsidizing the product. Because these are the things an ordinary Zambian will not understand.
Minister, do you think the problem was subsidizing the product or not?
No,
paying
he was
for the subsidy?
talking about
why are you not? I hear you, but
yes.
My question is, what was the problem? Was the problem the subsidy or the fact that the subsidy was not being paid?
What you're saying is that, you see, what I'm saying here...
The only way we got into debt was because we were not paying, isn't it?
Yes.
So, the subsidy wasn't the problem. The problem was that we were not paying. So why didn't you just start paying?
So this is what I'm telling you. How do you tell the nation that we are subsidizing the product, but when you are creating a problem for the government? How? Does it make sense? You tell somebody that I'm subsidizing this product, but you are creating a debt. Where is the logic?
There's logic, but before
where is the logic?
Before I give you the logic,
you subsidize even at your household level. You are saying no, my wife, I'm bringing this oil, this cooking oil at a subsidized price, but you are busy, heaping the debt.
No, Minister, you are subsidizing. No, Minister, you are subsidizing.
There's no logic in
You are
that.
subsidizing education, and you're finding money for the education sector, isn't it? You're subsidizing education.
Look. You're giving a practical example that we are subsidizing education, and then we fail to provide resources.
So the same way you're subsidizing education, why can't you subsidize energy?
No. First of all, you must understand that. That's the more reason why this government decided to allow private players to come on board. We disengaged ourselves so that we can build on our economy. We can also clean our sheet in terms of debt. That's the more reason why we decided to come in that fashion. Because today, you will not see government,
Why don't you listen to the president, Minister? Because the president was very clear in 2023 when he directed your peers to address the concerns over the monthly fuel pricing mechanism. He gave a clear directive.
Very clear directive, but it's a process. And we have not
2 years, Minister?
Yes, it's a process.
Just reviewing a mechanism?
It's a process. Look, what you are talking about is quarterly review. That's what the president told us, that we need to start focusing, we implement quarterly review. Quarterly review can be only effective when we build our economy. You destroyed this economy. We need to build our economy so that our exchange rate becomes stable. Then we'll be able to drive the quarterly review. And this process, we are moving towards it. This is why you have seen the energy reforms are talking about open access. The open access will lead us to achieve the quarterly review.
Before we wrap it up, Minister.
Right up now, it's not easy. If we just jumped into quarterly review, our economy, our exchange rate...
That's your reaction to the president.
As you
No. That's not my reaction to the president. I'm explaining that the president understands that we are moving towards what he directed us as quarterly review. 100%.
Minister, as we conclude, just some clarity on this, because you're talking about this quarterly review, but I'd also like for you to justify why exactly are we doing this 1 month review for people to understand? Why is this happening?
The monthly review helps us to run with the exchange volatility. You understand that in business, you have to balance these things. So the exchange volatility is being managed. We are reviewing every month at every 30 days. And that helps our business people to thrive. Otherwise, this can create, a very bad, conducive environment for our business, for our private players.
Honorable Minister, thank you so much for making time to address these many issues in the energy sector this evening. We're joined in by the Minister responsible for energy, Honorable Makozo Chikote. Obviously, we're looking at issues around electricity and issues around the fuel supply in our country. On behalf of the entire production crew, thank you so much for watching. My name is Andrew.